S.M.A.R.T is the framework I've created to make my reading efficient and effective after years and years of trial and error. These are the 5 things I've implemented that have made my reading impeccable. The S stands for social media. You want to consume books like you do social media, and that is with a very small attention span. Treat reading like you do Instagram. Treat reading like you do YouTube. When the book is way too boring, just jump a couple of paragraphs. The point of reading a book is not to read every word from beginning to end. The point of reading a book is to get what the author is trying to tell you. Much of the book is just going to be random stuff for the author to get the book to 10,000 words or something. Don't waste 300 pages worth of time to find out that the book is not worth reading. That is something called the rate of revelation. Many books say in 300 pages what can be said in 10 pages, and those are the books that you want to skip over. But at the same time, many books say in 300 pages what can be said in 300 pages only, and no less than that. And those are the books that you really want to read again and again. The M stands for the matrix, what I call the book-worthy matrix. Every non-fiction book that you come across can be placed in one of the 4 categories that this matrix has created. This matrix looks at 2 things. Is the book that you're reading helpful, and is the book that you're reading insightful? All the books that are not helpful and not insightful are the ones that you instantly eliminate, the ones that you stop reading instantly. These are 90% of books. The books that are insightful but not helpful are the books that have nothing to do with your interest. So if you're an economist, you don't want to read a book on health, on viruses, on programming or something. Those are the books that are insightful but not helpful to you because you're not in that field. Those are the books that you probably want to ignore. This is probably 7% of all books. All the books that are most insightful in any one field, in any field that you are not a part of. The third category of books are the books that are helpful but not insightful. These are the books that you read once and then consume and then digest and then never come back to. The last category of books is what you want to focus on. These are the books that are both helpful and insightful. These are the books that you want to come back and read again and again. These are the books that you want to read inside out and understand every part of. These are what I call holy grail books. Holy grail books are the books that most transform you, the books that most change your worldview, your character, your personality. Those are the ones that you want to look for and the ones that you want to read again and again and again. One of the best ways to find holy grail books is to look for books that have stood the test of time. Look for books that have been the best for hundreds and hundreds of years and still are, and those are the ones that you want to read. If you do end up finding a holy grail book, and by the way, they're all different for every one of us, you'll find that you mention it every day, that it changes you completely, and that every opportunity you get, you bring it into your conversation. After all, the point of reading books is not to read as many books as possible. It doesn't matter if you read 100 books, if you read 1,000 books, if you do not understand any one of them, if you don't consume the knowledge that is inside of them. The point of reading books is to let them change you, is to have a conversation with the author and let the author transform you into something new, into something different. The point of reading books is to introduce yourself to novel ideas so that your brain can accommodate them into your worldview, into your understanding of the world. How many books have you read is a very shallow measurement of your knowledge. How many books have transformed you is a much deeper way of understanding how to read books correctly. After all, great readers don't read a lot of books. They read smartly. They strategically read holy grail books. The A stands for adultery. Commit adultery often. In the reading sense, this means reading many books at the same time. You need to break down the school constructed belief that you can only read one book at a time and that you need to read it from cover to cover before you go to the next one. That is very arbitrary. It's not helpful for your reading. If you stop limiting how many books you can read at a time, then eventually you will find that you're reading the most interesting possible book at any time. You might be reading 15 books at the same time, but the one that is most interesting from all those 15 is the one that you're going to be reading the whole time. And that is what you really, really want. Smart reading is about making it so that reading does not require you to use discipline. It's just fun because you're reading what you want to read, you're learning what you want to learn. What's important here is that you note down what page you left off on so that you know where you are in each book and you don't have to keep looking around every time. That's something that you might want to remember. The R stands for retention. You want to retain what you learn from a book. You want to keep it. Many times it is the case that it is better to read one book 10 times than it is to read 10 books one time. It is only about finding the one book that is worth retaining, that is worth remembering. Find tough books, find tough authors that you want to learn from, that you want to befriend, and you want to read those books again and again. Every time that you reread a book, if it's been a few months, then you will see that you're reading the book from a new viewpoint. You're reading it from the lens of a new problem. You might be looking at the same page, you might be reading the same words, but the fact that you are a different person, that means that different things will jump out to you from the book, and you will be able to read different things into the same words because of it. You want to read the best books, you want to read the holy grail books again and again until you understand their viewpoints very, very deeply, and that is why it is very important to reread the best books, the holy grail books. The T stands for thoughtful notes. You want to be smart with whatever you're writing down whenever you're reading a book. You don't want to reread it for no reason whatsoever, right? You want to remember the most important things from it. Usually I try to write down three things, but I'm also trying to add a fourth one to it, which is very important. The first one is lessons. These are things I learned from the book that I want to remember. The second one is quotes. These are things that are written in the book that I could not phrase better if I tried to. So I use quotes when I'm copying and pasting some sentences from the book so that I remember later that this sentence was taken from the book. The third thing is my personal thoughts, and this is what I write in italics. Maybe I write down what I disagree on. Maybe I write down a question that was unanswered. Maybe I write down one way in which this could be applied to my life. Sometimes I even explain what the author has explained in my own words. The fourth thing that I'm trying to add to this is a table of contents. I want to make it so that I write down my own table of contents when I'm taking notes for a book so that I know all the major points that were covered by the author so that I can get a rough overview of the book by just a very short reading. Another important thing I'm trying to do to take thoughtful notes is to interconnect my different book notes. I don't want it so that I have one book and all the notes for that book, and then so on for all of the books. I want it so that different notes and different books connect with each other. I want it so that I can see visually how different books connect, how one topic has many books, and how those different books agree and disagree. And that is why I'm trying to create a second brain in Obsidian. I'm actually also working on making a video on it, and it's probably right here, so you should click here and check it out.